How do you choose a fitness strategy, and why is choosing one single strategy really important?
Come over. Don't fight how you really feel. Come closer to me.
Hi guys, welcome back. So I'm going to be talking today about choosing a fitness strategy. And some of you might have bought into my fitness strategy. You might be following the training and the diet that I'm recommending. But trying to be honest with you all, I'm not the only guy on the block. I'm sure you all know that. And I'm not sort of arrogant enough to think that you should all just follow what I say. And, you know, I would be someone to be quite suspicious of if I had that kind of attitude. You know, I understand there's a lot of different choices out there. So I'm just going to go through, you know, how I would go about picking a strategy, why it's important to pick a strategy, and the kind of things I would be very suspicious of. So the importance of picking a strategy. The whole point of that is so that you've got a set of rules that you follow when you're doing your fitness program. One of the first things people do, you know, falling out of their fitness kind of regime, is that they have a very wishy-washy strategy and they can kind of dip in and out when they feel like it. And if you don't have a really fixed in place set of rules that you follow, you'll find that you just sort of drift away because your mind's going to influence you and it's not going to want you to do your exercises. It's going to give you other stuff to do. You know, you're going to procrastinate, and if you haven't got that really firm rule set there, that's going to be so much easier to do. And the other thing is, you know, having a singular set of rules can be quite important in terms of the type of strategy you're following. You know, if you're a strength athlete and you're training for a specific strength purpose, and then you're kind of dipping in and out of a load of different strategies from different influencers, you might find that that's not only going to not help your training, you're not going to actually make any progress, but you're actually going to have some adverse effects. And of course, all this stuff could waste months of your time, because these fitness strategies, they take a long time. You know, this isn't like try something for 3 days and find out if it works or not, because you're not going to know if it works in 3 days. It's going to take like 3 or 4 months, and then you're going to be in a position to make a judgment over whether that's had any beneficial effect. And no one wants to spend 3 or 4 months doing something that isn't helpful. And I think that's one of the reasons that people find it really tough to pick a strategy, and people tend to kind of bounce in and out of various different strategies because they get nervous that after a few days or a week they think, oh, I'm not getting any results, I'll change, you know, and then they jump to something else. And, you know, when we're talking about fitness strategy, we're obviously including diet and training in that, and the same can be said for both. You know, if you cherry pick parts of your diet from a various different sort of diet plans, that's going to lead to big problems. The diet's probably not going to work because you might choose some parts of like a keto diet, and you might choose some parts of like a high carb diet, and you might pick some bits you like out of a vegetarian diet, and then you think, oh, I want to eat meat on this day but nothing else. You know, that would be a crazy diet. It would be very unlikely that it would work, and it would be really hard to stick to in any sort of consistent manner, because how would you possibly keep track of a diet that was kind of so diverse? And one of the most important things with diet is to be consistent, and you really need to pick something that you can just do every single day and be fairly comfortable with. So when you're selecting a strategy, context is everything. You know, if you're a long distance runner, there's no point in selecting a strategy from a famous bodybuilder. And, you know, if you're a strength athlete, you're probably not going to want a bodybuilding strategy. So you've got to think about what exactly you're going to do if you're looking to get into a sport or you're bettering yourself for a specific function. Most of my content is just about looking aesthetically better, losing body fat, getting generally healthier, looking after yourself in middle age, getting stronger, and losing body fat. You know, those are the things I'm interested in. So that covers most people. You know, if you're not a specific athlete looking for a sport and functional type of plan. If you are, then that's pretty niche. You need to go and investigate, what kind of strategies other people in that sport are using. And not only the context of the sport you're doing or the function you require, but there's other context to take into account. If you're choosing a diet, for example, you might have dietary requirements, you might be a specific religion, or you might have chosen to be vegetarian or whatever it is. So you need to make sure that the strategy you're picking has a diet that you're actually able to follow. And not only a diet that you're able to follow in kind of religious terms or ethical terms, but also a diet that you're able to follow in terms of everyday eating. Is it realistic for you? If you're going to pick a completely vegetarian diet, for example, and you've never done that before, that it can be quite a lot of work to pick a really healthy diet that's completely vegetarian or vegan. So do you have the time in your week to plan that out and to make that? Because if you jump on that diet and you don't, that's going to be an area of frustration and you're just going to end up giving up. And if you give up, people just tend to revert back to square one and they go back to their old habits again. Does the diet contain stuff that you are likely to eat, that you actually would eat? None of these diets are going to be full of yummy food, which is really great. You're not going to find a workable diet that's full of donuts and cakes and stuff. The whole point is to obviously eradicate that kind of thing, but at least be able to eat the food. So there's loads and loads of people online, people like me and people way, way more famous than me. So I'm just an average guy who's middle-aged, who's been in good shape, been really out of shape and is now getting into good shape again. And I'm just trying to advocate people in middle age trying to get back to the gym and get in decent shape. I'm not affiliated to any supplement companies or sponsored by anyone. I'm not a Gymshark athlete or anything like that. But there are a lot of very kind of famous and flashy influencers out there. Some of them seem pretty good, some of them not so good. So let's go through how I would kind of select someone that I would think, yeah, I will try the strategy they're recommending. So first of all, I would try and pick a channel for my strategy that is honest, is advocating an honest approach. And you can look back at videos and kind of have an insight as to whether these people are pretty honest or not. There's people that have obviously been online and got a following for quite a few years. You can have a look at their backstory, where did they come from? Have they had success in diet themselves? All that stuff can be looked back on and kind of checked over, and you'll get a feeling, that these are honest people or not. If a channel just springs out of the blue and some guy who's completely ripped sort of jumps in front of the camera and tells you you can have abs in 15 minutes or whatever, probably be suspicious. That may not be true, and he might just be trying to make a quick buck. We all know that this industry is awash with, scammers and snake oil salesmen. There's loads and loads of money in this sports industry to, come out of conning people into buying supplements they don't need, wearing gym stuff that they don't really need, and just charging people tons of money for really rubbish advice. So beware, they're out there. But there are a lot of good ones as well. So I'm always wary of channels that have, huge paywalls and a kind of clickbait vibe. So they'll say, hey, click on this, we've got the best diet in the world or the best training regimen in the world, and you click on it and you watch this video for 25 minutes. It doesn't really tell you a training regimen. It doesn't really tell you a diet. It just keeps on going on about how great these things are. And then at the end, you find out, you've got to visit some website somewhere and you've got to sign up and pay $39.99 a month. And then they'll give you the information. That to me is disingenuous. And even if the information was good at the other end of that, there's so many ways to get that information without paying someone $39.99 a month. There's plenty of honest advocates on YouTube or many of the other social media channels or got web pages or whatever. The information does exist out there, and you just got to find it and pick the one that suits you. I always avoid influencers or channels that advocate extreme stuff. And now this is a double-edged sword, because I'm pretty sure my channel would grow a lot quicker if I kind of sold out and had no ethics and just advocated some crazy extreme ideas, because unfortunately that's what gets promoted on these social media channels. That if I went out and said, you can get fit in 10 minutes a day, and I had some crazy workout and some really unusual movements going on, and then I had some sort of weird diet I was advocating, that you only ate cabbage soup in the morning, and then you ate like 3 pieces of chicken with some yogurt in the evening or whatever, and then I said that had some magic effect on thermogenics and used a load of big words, I'm sure I would get more views and more subscribers, because everyone wants to buy into something that seems to be a shortcut. Everyone wants to believe that, someone's found this great new way of getting in shape. And the bottom line is, do you really believe that Dave 478 on Instagram or whatever has kind of found what no professional athletes and no diet gurus or anyone has found in the last 100 years? They've all been looking. You've had all these amazing people studying muscle growth, fat loss, diets, government departments are studying it. We've got scientists looking at it all, making recommendations. It's very unlikely that guy on Instagram or on YouTube has found some kind of groundbreaking new way to get lean. I'm very dubious whenever they say that, because there's pretty clear ways to get lean and there's pretty clear ways to build muscle, and I've yet to hear or see anything that actually worked and was different. There are obviously, we all know the obvious shortcut is anabolics, and there are people out there that will advocate those, and if that's your bag, that's fine. That's not something we're talking about on this channel, but that exists, and that definitely can be a helpful tool to people, but it obviously comes with some pretty big caveats and some health concerns. So that's something for individuals to consider and look for that content where they see fit. So I would always try and pick a strategy from a channel that what they're advocating is also something used by professional athletes and sports people, and people that are working out and getting really good results. So one of the things I would do is talk to people I actually know who have got great physiques and see what kind of regimen they're doing. If I wanted to replicate that kind of physique, that's one of the best ways. And I would also look to see if my favorite influencer or whoever I was kind of following on social media to get this information, are they advocating a diet that's similar to what some of the professional athletes are doing? If they are, then they're probably being pretty truthful, because those athletes, they're professionals. They're going to be spending a lot of time and a lot of money, way more than any of us, finding out exactly what's the most efficient way of getting into great shape, getting the body they require, etc. And they're not going to be messing about trying loads of different things just in case they might work or they might not work. They're going to have that stuff dialed in. So if you can find out what some of those guys are doing, and you can look at some of the more extreme guys, if you look at some of the bodybuilders and the kind of diets they're on, even if you don't want to be a bodybuilder and you just want to put on some muscle and get into better shape, they've got a pretty good blueprint to how to go about doing that in terms of what they're eating and in terms of the type of training they're doing. Because whether you're putting on a little bit of muscle or a lot of muscle, it's going to be the same pathway forward. There's not a kind of different way of putting on a bit of muscle. It just means maybe you're not going to train for as long as they do, or you're going to kind of level off when you get to a certain point, and those guys are carrying on going heavier and heavier, whatever it is, but you're both following basically the same pathway. So I would avoid anything that advertises itself as being like really quick. If someone's telling you that they can get you abs in 5 weeks and all you've got to do is 10 minutes a day, and in terms of quick, I mean like quick exercises, like really short exercise times, or really short timescales in which they would get lean. People that have got these before and after pictures showing like, you know, this was me 2 weeks ago and look at me now, I'm completely ripped. None of that's true. You know, that is a lot of trickery to do with lighting, camera technique, fake tan, you know, water retention. So I can lose probably 3 or 4 kilos in water. I certainly used to do that when I was doing a bit of bodybuilding and doing fight prep and stuff. I just used to drop loads of water weight overnight, pretty much just by diet manipulation, manipulating salt levels and what I was eating, what I was drinking. It can be easily done. So I could mimic that and put out some really phony pictures of me looking pretty blobby and then me looking absolutely ripped and pumped just after I've left the gym in the morning. And, you know, that's not going to be realistic for people, because that's kind of just a here's me at my worst, here's me at my best picture, and there's no real difference to my body fat percentage. So I'm selling a myth. And lastly, I always avoid anyone who's kind of touting miracle supplements, miracle medication, pills, protein shakes, whatever it is. You know, if they're talking about some sort of miracle stuff that you should take, and that's going to be the thing that gets you in shape. And even worse, if they say you just have to do that, you don't even have to train, you know, just forget them, you know, look at something else. They're selling you what you want to hear, because we all want to hear that if you just drink this and then you don't have to go to the gym and you just sit around playing computer games and you're magically going to put on muscle and get really lean overnight and wake up looking amazing. That's the dream everyone has, but that isn't reality. The reality is it's going to take, you know, months of work. It's going to be hard, and supplements certainly can help. You know, there's nothing wrong with people advocating like creatine can be useful, protein powder can be useful. They're supplements. They're supposed to be something you take on top of an already good diet and an already good training regime. They're not going to do everything for you. So I certainly wouldn't ignore people that advocated their use, but I'd be very careful about people that were advocating solely their use, and especially careful if they've got their own brand of special supplements and they're supplements that you wouldn't normally see. So if they're advertising some weird willow bark from, you know, deepest Amazon jungle, it's got some strange sounding name and it's all a bit odd about what's in the ingredients, yeah, definitely avoid, because very few things come onto the market that actually have any promise. I'm actually trying a couple of supplements at the moment. I've done a couple of videos on that for Dogia and Tongat, and if you have a look back, you know, I'm trying them with great suspicion because I've never had success with that kind of thing before. Since being on them, my bench press has gone up and I've gained a little bit on my deadlift. Both pretty impressive numbers, to be fair. I can't guarantee that's down to the supplementation, but you know, it's certainly been an interesting one, and I'll continue to report back on that. But I would look for people that are kind of giving you that honest feedback, not just jumping back on and saying, wow, you know, it changed my life. I took this supplement, suddenly I'm, you know, like a sexual tyrannosaurus with the ladies, and I'm lifting half the gym's weights up. You know, that isn't going to be a reality for anyone, even if they were taking like anabolics. You know, that is probably not a reality for people. So once you've ascertained that you found someone that you have some faith in, and you think that you could follow, you know, the plans that they have, I would wholeheartedly follow them for 3 or 4 months and see how you get on. The worst thing you can do is kind of get a bit scared a few days in and think, oh, maybe I should try something else, because those people, they just jump from one strategy to another to another. I see them in the gym all the time. That's probably the most common fault I see people making, is that they never stick to a strategy. They're just jumping from one thing to another all the time. Oh, I'm doing CrossFit. Oh no, I'm training for Olympic lifting now. No, I'm not. I'm changing my mind. I'm being a power lifter. Oh, I'm going to eat a vegan diet now. No, I'm not. I'm going to go carnivore. What, you know, and they seem to get some sort of kick out of trying these new things, and they think that this new thing is going to bring them crazy good results really quickly, and then they get rapidly disappointed when that doesn't happen and they jump onto the next thing. They're never giving themselves a chance to actually get anywhere with any of these diets, you know, and their training changes so often that they don't even get much out of it in terms of muscle growth. They're probably getting a bit of fat loss at best. So I would definitely pick a strategy and stick with it. Don't try and insert your own ideas into it, because the bottom line is, if you got your own ideas and your own strategy, make your own strategy. You know, if you're that clued up that you can question someone who's already developed a strategy and who already has really good results and they're checkable, you know, and this guy's got a track record of having really good results, either you've got really good results yourself with your own strategy and therefore you don't need to listen to his, or you haven't. If you're just going to pick holes in someone else's strategy and say, oh, well, I think I should change that bit. Oh, well, I don't think that you should say that I should have those carbs, then you're arguing with the guy who's already got results and you've got no results yourself. That's why you're here looking at that guy's webpage or YouTube channel or whatever. You know, like I say, if you had all the answers yourself, you wouldn't be looking at this guy's channel. So either take his advice, or if you don't like his advice, go and search somewhere else for some advice that you think is more fitting to you. But I see a lot of those guys as well, and they're probably never going to get anywhere because they're going to seek advice, they're going to question everything, everything's going to be wrong according to them, but they haven't got their own strategy either. So they end up following nothing, or they end up cherry picking parts of a strategy, dropping some others that they've decided aren't good or aren't bad, with no like background at all to actually make those decisions and no science behind it. And then they just end up getting nowhere, and they often then blame the original strategist and say, oh, his plan didn't work. Well, yeah, you kind of changed 50% of it, so no one's surprised it didn't work. And you're kind of being disingenuous to that guy because you haven't followed what he's told you to the letter. You've changed it around and now you're kind of blaming him for it not working. Pick a strategy, pick someone that you trust, stick with that. And someone you trust doesn't have to be on social media. It could be your friend, a guy at the gym, a family member, a nutritionist, whoever it is, but pick it and stick with it and pick something that you think is going to suit you. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope that's been of help to you. I realise it may not do me that many favours, and people might kind of disappear off and look for other ideas on health and fitness, and that's absolutely fine. You know, I advocate that you all have a look around and see what's out there. Equally, I've got the diet stuff. It's all in the lifestyle playlist, and if you want even more info, for £2 a month you can join as a member, and that will give you access to like all the full diet plans. You can download the Word documents. It's got the whole breakdown in there, the training details, etc, etc. So you just get a bit more in-depth stuff, and you get some personalized content as well. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you're having a great weekend, and I'll catch you all soon.